Right.
I will show you the agenda. So okay, but already recording.
Organization.
We are starting.
So, welcome everyone to the ECOSOC Youth Forum official side event, Resource Mobilization Innovation for Youth and
Women-led impact
Entrepreneurship and Creative Economy. I'm Polzer, and
we are very grateful to be here at the AFS office in partnership with the International Organization for Youth and Ali Mustafa
is our great partner
and leader of this youth movement. Please, Ali, can you
say a few words of welcome?
Well, welcome everyone here in the room and online. And the session today is about the resource mobilization for innovation for youth and women empowerment. And I think we have been talking about partnerships since last 2-3 days, and the ECOSOC Youth Forum has been very relevant in terms of talking about partnerships. I think finally the SDG 17 has become relevant. Since the last 10 years, 2015 SDGs were announced, and SDG 17 had been the one that's been marginalized and sidelined or at least discussed. But now, as we are 5 years away from achieving the sustainable development goals, and partnership is now coming more into effect. I think conversation is very relevant. More than that, the result of this conversation is really relevant, and resource mobilization and with the partnerships, I think that's what we believe in. IAAI that we do, or all other projects that we do, have been the magic of actually the partnerships, because we do it at low or no cost events. And we say it's a good day if we get some funding or finance to do such things, but we have massive resources to do all of these things in terms of technology that we have been sponsoring, and the venue and other things that other sponsors and other partners give to us. That those worth having hundreds and thousands of dollars. But when it comes in terms of the resources, and we mobilize those resources, then we are making these big movements. So I think the conversation is very relevant, and I hope that we achieve some favorable results from this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ali. And really, it's all about partnerships.
We need to work together. The challenges ahead of us are bigger than any individual or organization could master alone, no matter how powerful he or she might be. And that's also why we are organizing today's side event in partnership. And it's IAAI is the International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges. And it's an ECOSOC accredited civil society organization based in Austria. And we are building the partnership, the Global Challenges Action Innovation Partnership, GloCha. And we have also in the US 501c3, a public charity. And we are partnering with the permanent mission of the Bahamas. You have many of you have attended our side event with UN Habitat on Tuesday, and Ambassador Stan Smith was there, and he is really a thought leader, and he understands that we need to envision better, more effective global cooperation, and that's our mission with today's event. And of course, the International Organization of Youth, the big player in the field. And as we are here at the ECOSOC Youth Forum, and UN Habitat Youth Program is a partner, and UNEP, Early Warning and Data Analytics Branch, and the Council of Global Change, which is a relatively young NGO here in the US, but with very powerful members. And they have $50 million impact fund, and members like Susan Rockefeller, Consuelo Vanderbilt was also the other day at the side event, and some other very high potential members who want to give back to society and support these bold innovations, systemic solutions that we are working on. So today's side event has several parts, but the main part is the presentation of our GloCha blueprint for super large-scale resource mobilization. Because we see that, for instance, in the climate process, UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, there was the climate conference last year in Baku. We had also a digital innovation pavilion there. But the main focus of the discussion was climate finance. And they said the world needs $1.3 trillion per year to really mitigate emissions and also to adapt to climate change to reduce disaster risk. And there is no leading ecosystem or player out there who would really take the lead in coordinating relevant stakeholders. The UN, we see, is in existential crisis these days. And it's also obvious that the operation system that the UN system has is reaching its limits. And we are saying we are here to lead. So it's quite a bold declaration of a small NGO, but we believe we can do it. And so we have a side event at the conference in May about super large-scale resource mobilization for impact entrepreneurship and public good finance. And we thought it's good to have here at the Youth Forum a side event to present our ideas and get input from young people to our ideas. And therefore, I'm very glad that we can be here at AFS. AFS Intercultural Program, that's really a very big player in youth engagement in the UN. They have the Youth Assembly every year and tens of thousands of young people who are in global citizenship, education, and capacity building programs. Yeah, so let's go to this, our blueprint for super large-scale resource mobilization for impact entrepreneurship. I've said IAAI GloCha is this next generation of the United Nations, if you want, and we have these solutions. And a key, we are working in youth engagement and youth empowerment in the context of UN programs and goals for more than 10 years now. And we see wonderful potentials, highly motivated young people, and but there is there are no financial resources to support this kind of work. And young people, also if they come, for instance, to ECOSOC Youth Forum, also, they're really scratching together the last money and volunteering their life away. And so, and that's a systemic problem. We really need to find mechanisms so that we document the value of these activities and ideas also of young people, and that we then reward it. And with GloCha, we've had already in 2016 initiative on the fringe related to the UN climate conference in Morocco. And at that time, it even got the official COP22 project label. Give you a chance called Resources for Youth Climate Action, where we said there is this money from the signatories of the Giving Pledge, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and now already more than 200 billionaires families have said they want to give back to society half of their wealth before they die. And so we said, you should work with us because we want to channel $100 million to youth-led and youth-focused climate action and developing Agenda 2030 marketplace for projects of young people. And at that time, we've seen there are more elements needed. If we even would have this money, it would be difficult to
follow
where the money is going to, having the mechanisms to decide collaboratively. And since then, since 2016, the Web3 technology, blockchain technology has emerged and is opening up a new universe of action potentials, how we can really track financial flows, how we have collaborative governance, collaborative decision-making, transparency, and also digital finance and much more. And one initiative in which we have then had the first pilot of a Web3 technology-based resource mobilization is Digital Art for Climate, where we organized a contest for young people to submit their artwork to inspire global community at the climate conference in Glasgow, and then turning this artwork into digital assets, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and selling them, and in order to finance the work of the young people, but also rewarding the artists and having also a resource base for GloCha. So, and this, please. I will mute on my laptop. Yeah, thank you. An important context also for this presentation here is that we are going with GloCha and IYC to LA there end of April, early May, and we want to have their pilot activities really to demonstrate that with this new conceptual frameworks and the tools that we are developing, that we can help people in LA to more effectively address the challenges in the city, which have a global implication or a global dimension, and also to raise in an innovative manner financial resources. And so here the GloCha blueprint for super large-scale resource mobilization, how we think that we can get to the level of billions, is using emerging technology, blockchain technology, geospatial data, and AI to have an ecosystem to coordinate across stakeholders the flow of financial resources, and also with transparency framework for action and impact created. And with this ecosystem, we plan to unlock financial resources in the range of several $100 million, with a first phase focus on the Green Climate Fund, and also in combination with the financial resources of the Council of Global Change. As we said, they have really a substantial financial power. And we are also going to set up in Geneva a quasi-international organization, a blockchain-based entity, which will operate as a clearinghouse and have some essential financial functions, so that this system will work across legislations. And as I said, Green Climate Fund is a very essential source of funding. We have a project development workshop on the 17th and 18th of June planned in Bonn during the UNFCCC Bonn Climate Conference. We are working there with the German Development Corporation, GIZ, and therefore also blending different sources of public climate finance with official development assistance, donor-advised funds, but then also with institutional investors, insurances. We have among our partners Nippon Life and philanthropy and people's money. There we have also some quite pioneering initiatives which are building on the lessons learned with Digital Art for Climate involved. And there's another branch where we see really billions of dollars as resources that we can mobilize is in reactivating money from tax havens in a framework in partnership with several member states, which will create with us the possibility to legalize money from tax havens in order to channel it into the global energy transition and local programs also. So the framework to do this is this global challenges, action, innovation, and emerging technologies partnership. Till now, it was GloCha. Now, in February, when we presented this at the UN ECOSOC Partnership Forum, we have opened it up and said we are open also to renaming if needed. And the point is that the SDGs implementation is low, exclusive nation-state multilateralism is underperforming, and innovation is needed. It's also in line with the our common agenda report of the Secretary General, which said that we urgently need a renewed social contract, one that allows many more actors to tackle increasingly complex and interconnected problems, including also individuals, private sector, state institutions, civil society. And we are building this ecosystem that will fill this global common good action coordination gap that exists and really mobilize and coordinate the financial resources. To get there, it's a combination of innovation on several levels needed, new thinking, cultural innovation, paradigm shift, but also social innovation, public sector innovation, knowledge system innovation, impact entrepreneurship and job creation innovation, financial systems innovation, and emerging technologies use, and movement building. And we believe that we can build the biggest movement in human history with everyone joining forces for the local and global common good. We've had activities at the Summit of the Future, an exhibit, and also a one-day conference. And we have these flagship initiatives, among them the Data and Digital Innovation Consortium, where we are bringing together digital solution providers. We have also NVIDIA in our consortium, and some big players like the International Research Center for AI in Ljubljana, International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis. Block Science is one of the partners also. So really very powerful players, because everyone sees that there are so many elements. There's a technology stack needed, there is a accompanying research needed, and many more components, so that we really build this ecosystem in which then the different organizations can somehow plug and play. They can engage in a very easy way. Here, a photo of our diplomatic champion, Stan Smith from the Bahamas, at one of our workshops in December. We are proposing a General Assembly resolution for a Global Challenges Action Day. So this really, because if we set out the blueprint, but there's no legal obligation also for people to really contribute to this, it's not going to function. We need this cultural shift. We need to build a movement, the social energy, so that people then start channeling their financial resources in the structures and products that we are building. In terms of the data and digital innovation needs that we have and that we are developing, a very important element are digital collectibles and badges, NFTs, so that action and impact contributions of everyone will be represented in a digital way, and it can also be the basis for micro entrepreneurship and digital identity management tools, a global challenges action registry, geospatial data collection and processing in collaboration with the UN Geospatial Network, One Map, One Humanity. Challenges mapping is a tool that we have developed in the context of an EU Interreg project, where citizens can go and identify challenges in their neighborhoods and specify them, localize, and then putting on a global map. Global Challenges Action Dashboard platform and app for individuals and organizations. Regarding this, we are also coming to LA to see whether such an app for global challenges action, which could be called a Good Life app, that this could be potentially be developed further with the city of LA in the context of the LA 2028 Summer Olympics. AI tools are very important, and digital finance tools as well. And with this ecosystem, you've certainly heard of carbon credits, biodiversity credits, and other ways to incentivize impact in the context of climate action. And we envision with these our ecosystem that we will be those who are able to provide highest quality carbon biodiversity credits, blue economy credits, because we are using IoT, Earth observation, AI, Web3, and community level data collection. Okay. Yeah, sure. I will finish quickly, but we would then invite the feedback from the youth first to have the views on these thoughts, and then your colleagues are very welcome, and you're welcome to take the lead, bring leadership. Yeah. So these are, as I said, very essential will be the Green Climate Fund. These are the Green Climate Fund has the task to lead the distribution of the commitment of Global North to give every year. Till now, it was $100 billion from the Global North to the Global South. And the money is not really flowing because the administrative overload is too high. And now they are starting consultations how the Green Climate Fund could support better locally led climate action. And this we will address and offer to them with our Green Climate Fund project consortia, which will be formed in June. This is brief information about what is planned in June. We have the rooms reserved at the German Development Corporation, GIZ. Digital Art for Climate is an initiative which we will explore also in LA, how we could use artistic expression from the citizens, especially youth and creative community in LA, to tell us where they see challenges and where they see action potentials, deliverables, and timeline. I'm not going into details, just this friendly greetings from Burkina Faso, from one of our partners. Yeah, and with this, I would end this part, the presentation, and I would be very grateful if I could hear some feedback from you when you see this, hear this. What are your thoughts? Is it relevant for you? Something totally off, or you think something would be needed in addition to that?
I think it would help the GaiaAI imagine how we're
okay. Okay, let's do this.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Shall I ask Darren? Yeah. Darren and Shawn, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, Shawn, I see you.
Hello.
Yes, I'm trying.
We couldn't quite hear
So-
Susanna. I think Susanna was talking away from the mic.
Okay, can you try again?
Test. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. I was just saying we couldn't quite hear Susanna. I think Susanna was talking a little bit away from the mic. Couldn't quite hear what she was saying just before.
Sorry, we're just having some technical difficulties figuring out the sound. One sec.
Mhm.
Going for my computer.
Okay. So I'm gonna play it from my computer, the sound. So just mute your Zoom, Mira.
Okay.
Mute it and then okay. Let's try that. Shawn, can you say something?
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Okay, great.
Test. Yeah. Okay.
You on there?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Shawn, go for it. That's boring.
Awesome. Thanks, Susanna. Nice to be here today. Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, we had a lot of fun putting together this presentation, and we're really excited to share with everyone about GaiaAI. And I'm going to pass it over to Darren to start it off.
Thanks. And I'm going to share my screen. Can you see what I'm presenting?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, hi, my name is Darren. I'm part of a small team promoting and building decentralized AI for planetary regeneration and intelligence. So yeah, we're working on aligning AI, not just with human goals, but with kind of this broader planetary level, you know, evolution of life goal. So trying to create a nervous system for the living Earth.
Beautiful.
And yeah, so from silos to synapses, building Earth's nervous system. So we like to think about, the emerging technologies, information technology, blockchain, AI as kind of like forming this nervous system, of the Earth. Some people talk about, the noosphere, the sphere of ideas, and the technosphere, the sphere of technology. So yeah, so this is happening, this is emerging, and the question is, how do we relate to it? How do we participate in it? How do we guide it? And our proposal is that we can do this in a decentralized and bottoms-up way, and we can take inspiration from how other technologies like the internet and like blockchain have focused on a decentralized emergent approach. And so rather than us like thinking of it as like kind of a central brain, we can think of it as a mesh of intelligence, or and we really like these kind of biomimetic or natural inspired analogies. Thinking about the principles of living systems like mycelium networks, and how we can kind of adapt our technology to fit this more decentralized approach. And this is because, like knowledge is really, at a very decentralized local level, like the people in the places all around the world are the ones that have the insights and the local knowledge and the wisdom to know how to best take action and manage their territories. And so we promote a commons powered approach for taking action and for stewarding the emergence of AI infrastructure. So we see this as kind of basically supporting the edges of the network in this decentralized way of participation and agency, while still allowing for a global connectivity and information flow and synthesis, so that we can have a global level synthesis and intelligence of what is going on, and planetary boundaries and things like that, while allowing for action and agency at a local level. Here's a few of the key components that we are working towards. And this includes governance systems and these high level funding sources for large scale resource mobilization. And then we have intelligent ways of making decisions and of routing these resources to where they can make the most impact and where they're needed the most. So these resources can flow to local actions. And also at the local level, we can have local data vaults and small scale data and knowledge pools and commons. And these can be connected with AI agents. So we can have agents at a personal level, at a small group level, and so we can have AI participate and integrate at this kind of bottoms up layered level, where we can have AI agents making recommendations, doing simulations, and allowing for resources to flow to where it makes the most systemic impact. So as an example, we can look at this at the scale of like a bioregion. So this would be like looking at like a watershed, or like where me and Shawn are. It's in Cascadia here in the Pacific Northwest of the US. And we're working on building an AI agent for this Cascadia bioregion. So you can imagine that it could speak a natural language, and also be able to accommodate plurality of different ontologies and perspectives, such as indigenous terms. And it's very integrated with the ecology of, forest data, water quality, all kinds of information and data related to the health of ecosystems. And it can suggest fundable interventions, and it can do matchmaking with relevant donors and help people apply for grants and have insights into what's happening in that region. We can think about this as facilitating the intelligent flow of funding to happen. So AI is able to recommend where and when to allocate resources and funding for local action. And then at the same time, the AI allows for the synthesis of these local actions and sense making into these higher level systemic knowledge and decision making dashboards. So funding can flow down to the ground to where it's needed most, and those actions can flow back up and be aggregated at this global level, and facilitating a high level of intelligence and sense making. And I'm going to pass it over to Shawn to talk about microcivics.
Thank you, Darren.
Thanks, Darren. Awesome. I'll jump in. So, hey, everybody. Yep, picking up where Darren left off, wanted to think about resource mobilization in the context of GaiaAI and where some of our inspiration comes from. So there was a book written just a couple of years ago called Exploring MycoFi, and that's mycological finance, financial infrastructure inspired by mycology. And so the GaiaAI team, me and Darren, we're collaborating with the MycoFi team and working on this concept of mycocivics. So civic like infrastructure, public goods infrastructure inspired by mycelium. So I just wanted to get some of our inspiration points out here. Quadratic funding is one of the most successful mechanisms we've seen in decentralized Web3 public goods funding. The equation is in the top right there. It's very simple. It sources donations from the public so the public donates to public goods that they want to see funded, and their donations go to those projects. But their donations are more than just donations. They are signals into what they want to see funded. And so you take the square root of every donation, you sum it up, and you square that number. And that is the quadratic funding allocation that each project receives. And it's a way of determining how to distribute matching funds, like say from a government or a NGO. They can match funds that are sourced from the donations of the public. So it incentivizes people to donate to projects, and it's also a sort of quadratic, democratic way of people to vote with their dollars. So threshold-based funding, this is something we're working on. There's the network interface on the right is a platform we're working on. We're really interested in threshold-based flow funding. It's adjacent to this concept of like needs-based accounting. So getting people and projects and organizations at the ground level to assess their needs and compile their requirements to be able to function as sort of like a min and max threshold to say, you know, this is the minimum amount of funding we would require to be able to contribute adequately. And then this is the max funding. You know, if we could have all the funding we need to thrive, it would be this max threshold. And so then you get all the accounts in the network sort of floating between their min and max thresholds. And as accounts receive beyond their max thresholds, their funds flow forward throughout the network. This is one mechanism we're working on. I got inspired in the context of GaiaAI, thinking about resource mobilization. My dear friend and colleague, Jeff Emmett, asked me, like, what kind of resources? And the first thing that came to mind for GaiaAI is knowledge. I think that's a paradigm that we take is how can we mobilize knowledge and intelligence through decentralized AI infrastructure with GaiaAI. I think I'm a little low on time, so I'll go through these quickly. Percolation theory is something Darren and I have been looking into through a hackathon right now, and it's exploring the frontier of information density and complexity as sort of the frontier of understanding and seeing how AI agents can help us explore that frontier. Yeah, we're really into on-chain infrastructure like smart accounts and streaming finance. And a shout out to some of the great players in regenerative Web3, Gitcoin, Giveth, Regen Network, and grassroots economics have been very large inspirations for us. And on microcivics, from the GaiaAI perspective, what we do is micro grants that are facilitated through our AI system. So we source grant proposals from people on Twitter and pass all those proposals into our network of AI agents, which is led by Gaia, our main agent. And they collectively filter through the proposals and decide a proposal to receive a micro grant. So we've given out 4 micro grants so far with GaiaAI. Darren, do you want to hit the next slide? AI enhanced allocations. So we've done 4 rounds of what we call Gaia in real life, or Gaia IRL. This has resulted in removing hundreds of kilos of sea turtle killing plastic from the beaches of Mexico and the planting of roughly 500 fruit trees in Uganda, with our partnerships with Refi Tulum and Ioweka, Uganda, with that funding. Go ahead, Darren. So roadmap for GaiaAI, we have created an open source framework that comes prepackaged with sort of regenerative oriented agents. So that can be ran by anyone, forked, etc. It's open, and the knowledge base is open as well. We are now focusing on bringing AI agents to regenerative communities, and we have a pilot project with the Y on Earth community, which is a podcast network. Stewarding decentralized AI community of practice, getting agents onto the ground at the bioregional level. We're working on this with our Cascadia agent. And we're inspired by the concept of Gaia as an AI agent being sort of on the board or being a representative on like nonprofits and things like that. Yeah, go ahead, Darren. Yeah, this is the network that we operate within. Some of our partners that we've worked on in various aspects: Regen Network, Grassroots Economics, Open Civics, Regenerate Cascadia, the Regen Commons, OUR Eco Village, NewCoin, Feed Tulum, Refi Tulum, and Refi DAO. And yeah, call to action, call to co-create the Symbiocene. The Anthropocene was a story of domination, and the Gaianthropocene is a story of symbiosis. So join us in turning intelligence into collective thriving, and take a picture of this QR code. There's a link tree there that will link to everything about GaiaAI. And just a final shout out, the link here, cascadiabiophi.org. Darren and I are part of an organizing team for a Cascadia Bioregional Financing Conference happening May 16th to 18th. And I invite anyone who feels inspired to see if they could attend that gathering. Thank you, everyone.
Such a juicy conference. I'm excited for that one. Up next, we have Stefan Martineau. Thank you, Shawn and Darren, for really taking us through the digital realms of the Symbiocene. And Stefan, it's so good to see you. Welcome to our emergent session on resource mobilization. It would be wonderful if you can share a little bit about your project with SANE and the mutual aid app that you've been building that will enable people to trade hyperlocally in their local regions, and also how the regenerative economic zone concept that you've been stewarding and how that could move funding to these local regions that yeah, will be quite revolutionary for the countries to really mitigate its debt and all of that jazz. So welcome.
Thanks, Darren and Shawn. It's really nice to see. I really like the concepts you're presenting there. Thanks everyone for being here. I was walking in the forest this morning in a wildfire that we experienced last summer. So it very was, you know, feeling all of the impact of our current time in history, and then walking into the house and getting an email that I was asked to come and talk here. So obviously I don't have a very well prepared presentation as Shawn and Darren have just presented to us. So I'm just gonna go with inspiration of the moment. I really like the fact that everyone here seems to be thinking at the metasystemic level. You know, the challenges that we're facing as a human family are so large that, you know, thinking at the metasystemic level is almost a prerequisite and requirement for our time. You know, I've been in the trenches of bioregional resiliency for about 35 years. And, you know, when we look at all the graphs that we were looking at in the mid-90s, we haven't made much headway in the last 30 years. So our movement of change has had a lot of good ideas over time. And for some reason, we see ourselves 30 years later, we look at all the graphs and we haven't seemed to be moving forward that much. So that brings up big questions like what is it that we can learn from these decades of attempted actions, and what are the things that we have maybe not been able to capture properly to really create the kinds of change that's required at this time in history. So SANE is an organization that utilizes these 3.5 decades of experience and building, you know, large-scale projects from, you know, the biggest food co-op in Canada to managing tens of thousands of acres of land and forestry in BC to, you know, really attempting to change consciousness at, you know, at scale, and realizing that at the, you know, the most fundamental system that influences our choice making as humans is our financial system. And if we all think for a second how many of our decisions we make every day and how many of them are guided by our relationship to our current economic system, then we realize that pretty much most of our choices are guided by that. Very few of us have the option to, not consider that in their choice making. So if we think about large scale social change, then we need to really think about what's the foundational system and how is that foundational system built. And currently, the incentive structure of our current financial system influences all of our choice making. And these incentive structure lead us to complete collapse of both biosphere and human civilization, because we are, all incentive structure is talking about continuous growth and continuous consumption. So if we want to change our economic system, we believe at saying that, we need location, i.e. playing fields, where we can experiment without the confine of our current structure. So we are using the concept of what we call a regenerative economic zone. So it's building on the concept of a special economic zone to work with nation states to look at, like, can we have large scale areas within nation states that could be membranic in themselves. So meaning like we create borders that allow for complete innovation at all scales within that zone, removing from the system the constraints that are currently within our economic system, which allows to implement things like new financial instruments or new tenders, different relationship between human and nature, different input into choice making, which connects with what GaiaAI was just presenting. How do we get feedback from the biosphere as to how well we're doing? How do we get feedback from human health systems as how well we're doing? And how do we create new incentive structure for choice making for humans within these regions? And I often use the example of Dubai. Dubai in 1987, I was in Dubai, and there was an international airport and a few buildings in construction. And what the UAE did is they created a special economic zone, and you can see how Dubai has won the game of capitalism over the past 40 years. So imagine a regenerative economic zone. I believe that 40 years from now, the nation states that create regenerative economic zones now will win the next 40 years in terms of the financial system that needs to emerge post-capitalism. So SANE is trying to create the first regenerative economic zone on the planet that will become the Dubai of 2065, where we're going to have created an area at large scale that demonstrate that human and nature can both regenerate and increase health and wellness, and will become a pilot for the planet as to how we can move entire systems to a new way of being enacting. So we're building the technologies to be able to do that. And my time is up, so I'm not going to go into great details about all the layers that are involved in building those technologies, but that's kind of what we're working on. So thank you for having me here. I just want to finish by saying our daughter is 21 years old, and she's been working on doing 10-day youth camps for the last, since she's 18, where she brings change makers from around the planet to hang out together for 10 days. So I think there's a real, and she's amazing how these young people coming together for 10 days, how it both changes them and how it allows them to find their voice. So I really believe in this youth work. And I really think that that is a key element of building the future we want to see. Those young people need to be empowered, need to have hope, they need to have vision, and they need to be supported so that they become the leaders that we need for the future. So Susanna and the work that you guys are doing, I think is so critical, in any way that we can help, we're definitely on board. So thank you, everyone, for allowing me to take 10 minutes of your day.
Thank you, Martin, for your inspiration and insights, for all the work that you do with such devotion for the planet, for all beings. It was really wonderful to have you all with us today. We're gonna start to wrap because the youth need to get back to the UN for a iconic photo, a photo op. So we're going to just open it up for open questions, if anyone has, or do we have
Yeah,
more presentations?
no more presentation, just interaction, your thoughts, suggestions to anything you've heard. Please.
So I was just curious about the GaiaAI. Is that going to be accessible? I think you had mentioned like an app, or I was just curious like the format for how that will be conveyed and like, you know, if it's going to just be publicly available.
Yeah, great question. So GaiaAI as an agent is accessible through social media. So we have both a Discord server where you can chat with Gaia and also on Twitter. So it's at GaiaAI agent. We're working on getting the agent into a Telegram group as well. So there'll be those three options. And if you get the link that we shared, the link tree, that'll have links to all three of those options. I'd say a good place to start is hop in the Telegram group there. You can chat with the team and the community there. And we'll be adding the agent really soon into that chat room.
Yeah, so we do have these implementations that we've made it, but we also are working on frameworks and tools for anybody to do this themselves in a way that's interoperable.
It looks like Benjamin Life was able to join, so maybe he can give a little brief 2-minute overview of Allo Capital and the quadratic voting and funding mechanisms that they're building and enabling. Imagine at the youth forum or at the UNGA of everyone participating, voting on the spot about where money should go to. Like, how cool would that be for people's votes to actually be like visible on a screen in real time and the funds being distributed? So Ben, I would love for you to just give a quick overview to blow these minds of what's possible.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Susanna, for inviting me, and thank you to our hosts. So my name is Benjamin Life. I co-founded an organization called Open Civics, and more recently, I've started to contribute towards research and intelligence with the Allo Capital team. And Allo emerged from a project called Gitcoin that has become the longest standing and largest on-chain Web3 grants program on Ethereum. And that project began with a kind of provocation from an academic named Glenn Weil. And then eventually the founder of Ethereum discovered this idea that this academic had published around how quadratic algorithms were a really great way for expressing your weighted preferences. And so the way that quadratic funding or quadratic voting works is you have a certain number of dollars or a certain number of credits, and you're able to allocate as many of those credits as you want to different projects, but each credit that you add is quadratically less significant than the previous one. And so it creates a kind of game where you are expressing your preferences around, either a funding decision or a governance decision, and using this mechanism to express more than just, one person, one vote, more than just yes or no, saying I prefer this slightly more than this. And it creates this sort of tunable experiment and game for how we make decisions together. And this was applied to funding public goods on Ethereum. And public goods are open source technologies, but also education and social impact, things that there isn't really a market demand for, but that benefit all of us when they happen. And so this mechanism has grown to now support local grassroots projects, climate projects, as well as open source technology projects. And so growing and building upon that success, Allo has become a design shop for capital allocation mechanisms. And so we're really trying to expand the field of capital allocation from just something that venture capitalists do or hedge funds do or private equity does into something that everyday communities can do, that non-governmental organizations can do, with a higher fidelity in terms of what are the signals or the inputs. How do we measure impact and verify impact in a way that creates fields of trust as we're making resource allocation decisions? And how can we create new mechanisms that allow us to flow resources to projects, initiatives, government agencies that are doing the work that we as a collective, whether that's our organization, our nonprofit, our agency, we want to see specific outcomes as a result of our capital allocation. And so we're building tools that help measure those outcomes and better align the allocation of capital towards creating more of the kind of impact we want to see in the world. That was my 2 minutes.
Thank you for
How'd I
dropping
do?
it.
Great job.
Great. Yeah, very good. I think that Darren and Shawn's presentation earlier helped to set some context also.
Thank you very much for having joined, and we are very much looking forward to developing systemic solutions together and joining forces together. We are stronger.
Indeed. Does anyone have any questions for?
No, it all sounds amazing. Like, it is mind blowing.
And like considering the times that we're in right now, where people feel like their power is being taken away and there's no space to really participate and make a difference, I feel like this is really critical right now for people to.
People power.
Yeah.
Tools for people power.
Yeah.
How old are you all?
19.
18.
No.
24, yeah. Super old.
Yeah. Like 25.
All right, cool. I'll move down that side.
Imagine being at the UN like at 18, 19,
Right.
20. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank
showing
you.
up.
Yeah, it's an
Our
opportunity.
pleasure.
Yeah.
I see all the tools that could be really beneficial. I have a different perspective. I just retired. I'm a former fatal child abuse investigator. So I literally deal with homicides when children are dying and fatal family violence, domestic violence. And we know that #1 killer women are domestic violence around the world. So I understand the money and cryptocurrency and the whole 9 yards, but there's a human element in terms of its worth. The human element. It has nothing to do with money. And so my perspective is, how do I utilize tool sets to bring safety in the home and communities? And so I'm already working with other groups. I'm part of the National Association of Social Work and American Public Health. And EPH is the largest organization, has to do with public health. And we're all looking at data to literally create an avenue where you can reduce violence in the home. We know that broken children become broken adults. And so the issues of the world is because we have adults running the world that came from broken homes. Literally think about that, what I'm saying. If you look at any leader in this world and look at their childhood and what they grew up with, it will pretty much tell you. So, the psychopathic involvement, right? So in my world, I want to see how to utilize these tool sets from the home, from childhood to adult, and understanding those metrics, because we were able to understand that. Because let me tell you, I've been to homes where children have died, and from a statistical perspective and data analysis, I literally had access to all this data systems, police, court systems, and you can see a trail of popcorn of all these violent episodes and incidences, and we failed to capture them. Then we cry about all this violence and dead kids, but we knew that the children were dying or they're susceptible to death because the evidence was there, all this data. But we're running around pointing fingers at everybody else, but yet the data is so evident. It's so crystal clear for me.
Well,
You follow?
We have some data scientists here. I'm curious to hear their thoughts on how that kind of data can
Right?
be applied.
Think about the CSW, we talked about violence against women. And we're pointing fingers. I know there was an event where the movie star made a comment about there's a grant, funding for over $2 billion, but they still don't know how to access the funding for the purpose of actually providing good service. You can have all the money.
What are the services and what are,
Right.
who's creating the centers for healing or reconciliation? or
Right, because if you don't
justice or-
heal,
Mhm.
you don't get to mental health, you're gonna have the same issue coming over and over again.
Mhm.
Right?
Gotta get to the root cause.
And money doesn't solve that. It's the actual service.
Money is the tool.
Yeah,
or
but service,
outcome.
right. So I'm just letting you know, I mean, dealing from fatality
Mhm.
and literally holding the hand of a baby as it's dying in the hospital, that for me is an impact. And I've seen that over and over again.
Mhm.
That's intense.
Very good.
Indeed, and
Sorry.
it's like, it's creating a culture of care and an economy of, of care and creating centers for people to be able to hold each other accountable. And I believe that these bioregional communities, for example, the one that Stefan is leading
Right.
and Kootenays, is a good example of a way that the local community is coming together to take
Right.
care of each other and
Right.
themselves and the land in the process. And so
Right.
how can we really propagate those centers all over the world that will help us to feel deeper connection and belonging and mitigate some of those and
Right.
also support when people do need to reach out and ask
When they're in
for
crisis.
help and
Right.
And we
So-
have to finish.
We're gonna go. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruby, for bringing us really down to earth.
Yeah.
Real cases, and I would now like to say thanks once again to AFS and to these wonderful students, many of them from UCLA. It's great that UCLA is engaged with IYC, and we will see again there end of April, early May. Looking forward to take next steps on this journey, and thanks to Susanna and to Benjamin, Darren, Shawn. It was very inspiring to hear.
Yeah, very inspiring. And also, I really wanted Zach to hear more about these tools because he's going to be on the ground in LA in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks' time with a bunch of youth and just getting a sense of how we want to engage the youth to participate in this kind of infrastructure and we build it so that we can continue building
I
together.
think just having a clear path of how they can get involved in making a process in which they can stay involved.
Yeah.
If that
And
makes sense.
let's have next week a preparatory
Yeah.
call also,
For sure.
really, which we open up to those who we intend to invite also to the workshop.
Mhm.
And then we prepare and.
Would you like Benjamin to participate in the workshop? To present
We
today?
can discuss it later,
We can
yeah,
discuss
just
it
see
next
how we
week,
wanna format it and go about that, but yeah. I mean, they can more than welcome to come and I'm sure it would be helpful if they did present, so we'll just figure out how, like logistically, how we wanna work that out.
Yeah, then know if they'd be able to make it in person.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Wondering if you have anything to do like a real Allo demonstration.
But
jumping in here, all of you. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, yeah, you're back now.
Oh, okay.